Well, Danny Medvedev is surely, that probably hurt your ears. Danny Medvedev is surely the favorite now after winning such an exciting match with Nick Kyrgios. Who could put him anywhere else? I guess he already kind of was the favorite going into the tournament. Nick Kyrgios going up in the second round against basically our number one seed since Djokovic is out of the tournament. It's an amazing thing. It's kind of as unfair as the treatment to Djokovic. Man, he got a raw deal. How about Danny Medvedev having to run into what he encountered last night in only the second round of the tournament? Didn't we say recently, whatever doesn't kill me only makes me stronger? I think that was Liam Brody's take on the match.
Kyrgios sends the locals into a frenzy. He has to improve on. That was simply ridiculous. Yes! Straight nitro from Kyrgios. And he electrifies the fans like only he can.
Medvedev angry after the match, and we'll get to that. We'll get to all the stuff. We're going to do a nice edition today of the match in pictures. But first, I just want to talk about Nick Kyrgios a little bit. I've got a great comment here. It's not a comment, actually. It's from my friend who sends me random screenshots of screenshots. Sometimes people are really angry sometimes. From comment boards on Facebook most of the time. I don't know where exactly he gets it, but put this on the screen. This sums it up pretty good. A mystery man, because I don't see the name. Halfway into his comment, Medvedev, we assume, was able to stretch Kyrgios with his accuracy off the ground. Did a good job putting the ball in awkward positions for Kyrgios when he looks to get forward and counterpunched well as always. Some great serving and brilliant forehands at times from Kyrgios, along with the wonderful slice, drop shots, and volley. But Danny, too consistent today, and court coverage was out of this world. Brilliant match, cements him as the favorite. I agree with that, and pretty good analysis of the match right there. I couldn't do much better. I would point out one thing that he left out, though. The Kyrgios backhand was able to hang, shot for shot cross court. We know Medvedev likes to wear people down, especially on faster, lower bouncing hard courts. We've just taken that flat cross court backhand over and over. But Kyrgios has a pretty similar backhand himself. You could argue he's got more variety on his backhand than Medvedev. I would say Medvedev's is the better weapon. But Kyrgios, just to show you how much talent this guy has, a number 2 player in the world, looking like he's going to win the tournament. Kyrgios looked pretty good in the cross-court backhand-to-backhand exchange with him, which is usually where most people look pretty foolish out there with Medvedev. This next comment, though, I want to zero in on. Ross Millar from some mystery page in Facebook, some board, some comment board. Nick needs to work on his discipline. He also needs to work with a psychologist and a mental health worker, improve his fitness, improve his stamina, and spend more time actually playing tennis because he will never progress otherwise. So that's basically saying Nick has to work on everything. But I'm going to make it very simple for you. I don't think that's true. I mean, I guess it's all true if you think about it. But all Nick needs to do is just decide that he's going to commit to the sport. I don't think it's going to happen. I hope it's going to happen. I hope I'm wrong, but he hasn't really shown us much reason to think that he's going to get more motivated for tennis. And one of the things, Robbie Koenig on the broadcast with some other blokes. Sorry, other blokes. I love Robbie Koenig, though. He always does a great job. And those other blokes were pretty great, too. But they were saying, what do you think is going to happen if Nick's ranking drops and he has to drop down to the challenger level? He has to travel the world and play in minor league tennis tournaments. Do you think he'll actually do it? Or do you think he'll retire? Tomorrow is Beer Hall Freitag, which, if you don't know what that is, if you're new to the show, Beer Hall Freitag. I have no choice. I just have to go through comments and grab as many as possible. And it's up to you. You decide what we talk about here at the show. My editorial powers here are temporarily removed, and we drink beers here at Beer Hall Freitag, the People's Day at Coffee Break Tennis. That will be tomorrow. So drop some comments below, and in particular, that one is a good one to comment on, but you can comment on anything. That's the theme of Beer Hall Freitag, where regular people can come and be on the show. Regular people, like I'm some kind of special person. Anyways, so I would like to hear comments on that. Do you think Nick Kyrgios would actually keep playing tennis and go play in the minor leagues? Would he be like Andre Agassi when he dropped out of the top rankings and work his way back, find that confidence, and go on to win majors? Probably not. Nick Kyrgios is a very interesting guy to me. Obviously, I mean it's kind of dumb to even say that. It's a big, massive understatement. But it's more than just this. Oh, Nick needs to work on his discipline and work with a psychologist and a mental health worker and improve his fitness and all that. Is he going to commit? Does he really want it? That's really all there is to it. It's very simple. Does he want to commit to this? I don't think he will. And if he doesn't, it's a real shame. And it makes me wonder about the appeal of Nick Kyrgios, because looking at that crowd, we'll show you, like I said before, the match in pictures. Looking at that crowd, people really are drawn to Nick Kyrgios. And it's not just like what we heard last year from that columnist, whoever it was, saying it was just the toxic masculinity crowd out there, just a bunch of young mad lads who were drunk and able to get in with the cheaper tickets. Oh, this was Rod Laver Arena, and it was still it definitely went over 50% at some point. It was pretty packed out. He's got a pretty wide appeal. I was the most excited to watch this match so far throughout the entire tournament. And Kyrgios, it's funny, like he appeals to people because he seems like a regular guy, but the truth is he's one of the most talented tennis players out there, right? That's the only reason why he can do this, which I guess makes it even more appealing and more interesting, you know, like a circus attraction, like the bearded woman or the man with three heads, or I can't think of any others. But that's kind of what Nick Kyrgios is, because it's a guy who is only out there on raw talent. Robbie Koenig said, he gave a great compliment to Nick Kyrgios. He said, this guy has one of the best serves the sport of tennis has ever seen, ever. I mean, he's right up there with Pete Sampras sometimes, the way he serves. Anyways, we'll go through all the match and pictures today, but do comment below. Would it break your heart if Nick Kyrgios dropped his ranking so low that he had to go to the Challenger Tour, and he decided, as he's threatened recently, Andy Murray's threatening that too, he might retire from tennis. He might not do it much longer. He's made enough money. He doesn't win a lot, but he's got way more endorsements than your average top 100 tennis player, your average player who has the kind of wins he has. We all know that Kyrgios can beat anyone. He's beat all three of the big three. He's beat everybody. He can beat anyone when he's motivated. And the most motivated we ever see is in situations like last night. It would be a tragedy if Nick Kyrgios didn't keep going and didn't fight to just commit. A little bit of all those things listed here. If he just commits, the whole world could be his, the whole tennis world, that is.
Yes!
Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. Today is going to be a short show, I think. We'll see. We're going to go through the match and pictures, get a couple comments, and that's it. And I'll say one thing up front about Andy Murray. Apparently, he felt okay in his match. He said his body felt fine. He just couldn't play well. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take him at his word. And Medvedev, incredible. But we'll get into that because now we go to the match in pictures. First picture, lined up for what I've been dying to see. Take a look. This is what I've been wondering. What's it going to be like when Medvedev... I mean, he was standing back for return in 2019 when they played last, but we know Medvedev has really turned it into like a religion, a way of life on the ATP Tour. So Medvedev way back, what happens? Kyrgios takes him out wide with the slider, hit that thing at 1 o'clock, carve it a little, put that massive Kyrgios power on it, and you got, take a look at picture number 2, an ace to kick things off on the Kyrgios serve. It is a slider out wide, as I pointed out. Not long after, take it off the screen, back to me. Not long after that, I can't remember exactly where. Another thing people wondered was the underhand serve with Medvedev's return position in the court. It worked, but it barely worked, and we didn't see Kyrgios actually hit an underhand serve until much later in the match. Maybe the fourth set was the next time we saw it. But we did see several fakes fake attempts where Kyrgios is going into that rocking motion. Then he drops the hand back, looking like he's going to fake the underhand serve. And Medvedev jumps, and that was bothering Medvedev, you could tell. So much credit I have to give to Danny Medvedev for keeping his cool this entire match. He waited until the encore interview with Jim Corea, as Medvedev pronounces it. We'll get to that, though. Picture number 3. Nick hits a volley like this. Oh, come back to me. He came up to one and just kind of... Not even that. I think that looked more technically sound than what Kyrgios did. I'm trying to remember. How exactly did he do it? It was just very casual, just a little push. I mean, honestly, you want it to be simple and casual. That is good volley technique. But he floated this thing out. He gets broken. And actually, I shouldn't say he floated it out. It was just a little to the right, Medvedev's backhand corner, just a little wide of the line. Actually, maybe credit Medvedev and his incredible court coverage for making Kyrgios miss that volley. A couple other bad luck things going on in Kyrgios, and he gets broken, but he will break back. Kyrgios' effort level in this match was incredible for a guy who doesn't care about playing tennis that much. Take a look at the game face. The game face on Nick when he has a chance to get that break back. At 5-all, take a look. I realized watching the match that we might be over 50% capacity. The crowd is going nuts. Now, it was a bad tiebreak. He came to the net. Kyrgios, he can get away with some kind of just like little scoop approach shots and go to net. And most people are just shocked because they can't believe it's actually happening. Medvedev was ready for that. Passed him pretty easy. Kyrgios let it go. Kyrgios had a double fault. Mistakes like that gave him no chance in that first set tiebreak. It was over pretty quick. Now take a look. We're going to the third set. Nick has played well. It's a lot like what I just read to you earlier from that, from what my friend texted me today, that screenshot of some Facebook forum or something like that. A lot of that stuff, Kyrgios loses the first 2 sets, but look at this crowd. It's growing. And a lot of times you see people try to go ahead and beat traffic after the first couple sets are dropped, but not with Nick Kyrgios. People are going to stay and see what happens. And here we go. Take a look. This is just one thing to show you. Nick hustling down a tweener and winning the point, going on to win the point. There were so many times that Kyrgios did something crazy, like a tweener, and would win the point. But it was never like casual, like he didn't care. It was always max effort level. He was really in it to win it in this match. So after this game where he's put in max effort level, you see him running down tweeners, and he gets this break point. He runs a lap around the stadium. Look at him go. Look at him go. The crowd is going nuts for this. And then Nick Kyrgios lines up the forehand. I think this was when it was. Maybe I'm thinking of when he broke earlier, but I'm pretty sure in the third set when he breaks, he hits a big forehand up the line for a clean winner. Kyrgios was so loud. I mean, it was like listening to women's tennis almost when he was hitting the ball, how much effort he was putting into every shot. The crowd was getting more and more excited. And take a look at the Nick Kyrgios effect. People were so happy to see this. Look at this little girl. You tell me, is this one of the toxic masculinity crowd out there? Is this a mad... Oh, these guys are a couple of mad lads. But the little girl, back to the little girl. Is she one of the worst people in the world? Is she a scumbag? Columnist, whose name I forget from last year, talking about Nick Kyrgios' fans are bad for tennis. You remember that if you were watching Coffee Break Tennis last year. Anyways, my favorite thing in the world, the lizard tongue. Nick Kyrgios whipping his head left to right with the lizard tongue out, flopping the lizard tongue. In the era of COVID-19, surely spraying, what are they called? Droplets. Yes! All over. But luckily everyone's vaccinated and boosted in Australia because those lizard tongue droplets, they were going wild. Crowd, I've already said it. Don't need to point it out again, but I will. Going wild. The greatest show on earth. Yes! Medvedev, one of the most talented tennis players out there, a workhorse, a freak, and Nick Kyrgios. It doesn't get better than that. Let's move on. Stats on this match. I mean, this third set that Kyrgios manages to win. Now, Kyrgios has been, he even, was talking about it, saying some choice words. I mean, some fruity language, as they like to say. He was upset with Medvedev having a very high, like 81% first serve in, or maybe not quite that high, but very high first serve percentage, and Kyrgios serving around 60. the first 2 sets. Look at how Kyrgios elevates that first serve in percentage to 81%. Now, take it off the screen. Let me remind you, Kyrgios is serving like Pete freaking Sampras over here, okay? So 81% in when you're hitting the lines and the corners all the time. That is amazing. As Robbie Koenig said, one of the greatest serves ever seen in the sport of tennis. Not only does he do that, but he out-hits the winner count on Medvedev. And have we seen this? Have we seen the guy who's going more aggressive with more winners, having less unforced errors in any of these matches yet? You see a lot of, like Karatsev throwing down 100 winners the other day. Or it was like 80 winners and like 120 unforced errors. You know, you rarely see the guy who's making, less mistakes. You don't see the guy who's more aggressive, who's hitting more winners, having less unforced errors than him too. And look at how Kyrgios only won that set by about a total of 3 more points than his opponent. I mean, that's how good Medvedev was in this match. That Kyrgios willed himself, and you know he's not in shape right now, to win this third set the way he did. It was incredible. This is a guy that will do anything for that home crowd. Or, and not just in Australia. He does it in other places too, but it was incredible to see. And again, look at the little girl. Do it for the children, Nick. For the children. Remember when Nick used to have kids come out on the practice court and he'd hit around with them a little, and then sometimes he would hit them with a serve. He would do it for the kids, Nick. Hit them with your 140 mile an hour serve. Go back to the stats. Less unforced errors, more winners, more first serves in, 1 less ace, but no double faults. Faces 0 break points. Incredible. But it would be unsustainable. This man, he gave everything he had for the people. And then he ran out. Take a look. Smashes the racket. Not too surprising. After he knew there was no way back. And then Medvedev, who had been pretty pissed, we get to hear when he talks to Jim Courier just exactly what he thought of this crowd. Let's move on to that really quick. Great stuff today, this morning. Tennis, Medvedev hits out at a low IQ fans as he reprises his role as crowd villain. This is from Metro, the metro.us. Danny Medvedev is no stranger to crowd hostility and once again seemed to revel in the role of pantomime villain as he overcame mercurial home favorite Nick Kyrgios at the Australian Open on Thursday and took a swipe at the feisty home fans. Yet the Russian could not hide his irritation during his on-court interview. I skipped some paragraphs there. He was very irritated, though. Asked by former champion Jim Courier how he managed to keep his emotions in control, the 25-year-old said he did not have a choice as he was getting booed between first and second serves. As Courier started explaining that a few fans were actually imitating Cristiano Ronaldo's famous goal celebration and not booing him, Medvedev lost his calm because they were booing him in between first and second serve. It's a Kyrgios match. It's part of the show. It's not great, obviously, and I don't think the majority of the people, as Jim Courier said, were doing it, but it was definitely happening. And then they start to boo the crowd, and Medvedev cuts off Jim Courier and says, "Sorry, I can't hear you. Show some respect for Jim Courier. Thank you, guys. Let him speak, please. Please, if you do not have respect for me, show some respect for Jim Courier. Jim Courier, who is great champion, who wins this tournament. Show some respect for Jim Courier." Is basically what Medvedev said. Pretty close. Break point, second serve, and people are cheering like you already make double fault. That's just disappointing. It's not everybody who's doing it, but those who doing it probably have low IQ, says. This was later. He said it to the Eurosport in the press conference, Mr. Meds. Medvedev eventually won the match, blah, blah, blah. We know all that. Hope to do something similar at Melbourne Park after winning the U.S. Open last year, blah, blah, blah. You should respect both players, he told reporters. It's not easy to be there when the whole stadium is against you. And here you go. This is what I was thinking with Liam Brody last time. Let's get ready to get this one out of here. Eject. Probably, if I will watch it on TV, I'm probably not going to do it tonight, but maybe after tournament, I'm going to be like, wow, that's great atmosphere for tennis match, says Medvedev. So he knows it. It was one of the highlights of his life. He'll always remember it. It was awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Nick Kyrgios. You are a true hero. All right, what else do we got? Kyrgios, super proud of his performance despite loss. Nick Kyrgios said he's bowing out of the Australian Open with his head held high. I'm like super proud of my performance today. From where I was with my struggles the last 4 or 5 months to be feeling like this, obviously I had a COVID a couple days before. I'm just proud of the way I responded. I wouldn't have been able to do it without my team as well. I gave it everything. I put it on a good performance, mate. Threw like everything I could at it. Like, seriously. Pretty close. A little off. A little off today. It's hard to switch between Russian and Nick Kyrgios' voices. Bruh. Obviously, I believe that matchup-wise, I think if you ask everyone on tour, they'd probably like vote him best player in the world at the moment, mate. Obviously. He doesn't drop his level. He shows up every game. He plays. I think no matter what the score is or how much pressure he's under, he never kind of gets flustered. He just has so much belief in his game. I don't know what I'm going to be doing in a year's time. I'll probably be planning to play, but I'm just thinking about tonight and tomorrow staying with my feet up, said Nick Kyrgios. All right. Doesn't know what he'll be doing in a year's time. Well, I hope to God he doesn't retire. All right. Hit the music. I got Craig Smiley Tiley here. We'll save it for tomorrow, maybe. I'm over it. They were asking him, are you going to resign? Did you mislead Djokovic? And he really gave nothing. He didn't really say anything noteworthy there. Let's do a couple comments really quick. Susan Diana says, I heard that Hurkacz had COVID, which is why he played so badly against Madrian Annarino. He's in quarantine now. I haven't heard that. I looked it up on the Google, but you know, the funny thing is when you try to look up Hurkacz, it's like he doesn't exist. I mean, there's very little information about Hurkacz out there, other than like the most immediate news summaries of a match he had at a big tournament. Other than that, like you can't find anything. It's amazing. Hurkacz, he's like a ghost. Maybe he has COVID, maybe he doesn't. Doesn't matter because they're not testing, and they're obviously not testing because there's going to be a bunch of asymptomatic players, and they don't want to disrupt the tournament because of health and safety. Rahaman Ahmed says, you mentioned Zverev's improved volleys. I think that is due to having his brother around in the past few months. His brother was one of the better players at the net. Yeah, Misha Zverev, 2017, man. He took out Andy Murray at the AO. The court was faster. And, yeah. They used to say back in the day, why doesn't Zverev a better volleyer? Why doesn't a brother just help him? Well, it takes time to develop a good volley. Mine's pretty good now, but it was pretty horrendous only like 5 years ago. It was, God, it was really bad. Anyways, drop some comments below. We will be back tomorrow for an exciting edition of Beer Hall Freitag. I'm trying to think of how to say see you. It's not auf Wiedersehen in German. What's the closest? Bis bald! Tschüss!